and you were still in his room, right? Because I'm waiting for Jordan to wake up so I can pick him up. And he just walks out and closes the door behind him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm still in the room, right? Or like any room for that matter in the house. Like if the bathroom door is open, Jordan is gonna hop in the bathroom and try to do some crazy stuff, pull the drawers out, you know, like get the hairspray, you know, my shaving cream out and start messing with it.
Yeah.
And Dorian just walks by and he sees the door, just like close, and I'm like, all right, I don't know what's going on with you, but like it's a thing with him and closing the door. So yeah.
That's fine. I have twins too.
Really?
They're 15, and one of them's name is Jordan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Jordan. I have Jordan and Hudson.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they're crazy too. So
Are they identical?
They're identical.
Then mine are not.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine are like complete different opposite sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
One of them is a blonde, the other one is a like brunette, complete, full head of black hair, kind of chubbier, a little dark, kind of a bronze skin like my dad. And then the other one is like my mom, like super white, kind of blonde.
Yeah.
And one of them is O positive, one of them is O negative.
That's
that
crazy.
tells you like how far apart these two guys are, right?
That's crazy. Yeah.
And like they used to fight a lot more. Now, you know, now that they're 2 years old, I catch them just kind of sitting down, playing with each and giggling a lot more, which is just, it's absolute joy to watch it, right? They're just, Jordan actually has like a little dump truck thing. It's like a green truck, like the waste management trucks.
Yeah.
That he plays a lot. He just loads whatever that he has on top of it and takes it over. That's kind of a red line for him.
Yeah.
And that could definitely ruin a friendship with Jordan if you touch that truck. And it doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
Like me as the father, I can't play with that truck. So if I just touch it, and he just walks by and like he grabs it and walks away, and I'm like, all right, okay, cool. Right?
Yeah.
And Dorian is crazy about phones.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whose phone it is. Like if you have a phone in your hand, right? So as long as it's in the pocket, you put it somewhere that's you're not paying attention to the phone.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. He leaves the phone alone. But like if you walk in the house and you're talking to the phone, on the phone, whatever, like you're checking Amazon, anything. Like he's just gonna stand right next to you, look at the phone. It's like, what is in the phone that you're looking at? And Jordan can care less. He does not care. So for example, I FaceTime with my mom and I'm like, oh, you want to talk to Granny? And Jordan is like, yeah, walks away, right? And Dorian grabs the phone for 25 minutes, walks around the house, talks to my mom, and is like, yeah. That's funny. This is the craziest thing,
Yeah, it's funny how they're so different.
And you only have two?
I have a junior in high school, a daughter.
Okay.
So 3. Yeah.
You're young to have. 15. How old are you?
I'm 48.
So 1976?
Yeah.
I'm 77, so.
Okay.
Yeah, but you started early, I guess. Yeah, I started late. I was in the military, so actually I got married after my retirement. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I got married when I was 45.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you started old. Like I'm normal. Like,
right.
I mean, I was 29 or something when 29, 30 when the first one.
No, actually, I got married. I had one prior marriage that didn't work out. Right, and we were together for 10 years.
Yeah.
But like when you were young, I got married when I was 28 the first time, right? And then for after 10 years, me being in the military, and I signed up from Seattle.
Yeah.
And she was here, a senior banker with Bank of America, so she actually didn't bounce between installations with me, because a lot of places that I went, there was no Bank of America, right?
Yeah.
And then 10 years being apart, it didn't work anymore, right?
Yeah.
We were just kind of long distance friends. Yeah. So for the first year, we would just, plan every 2 weeks. So she would fly out, I would fly home. And then we realized that with the money that you're making in the military, it's like way too much.
Yeah.
And then it became like a monthly thing. So we would, see each other like 12 times a year, right?
Yeah, it's hard. The long distance thing is hard.
Yeah. And then you just, extend, and you get on a, deployment for like 9 months, and then you come back and then hang out with your wife for a month.
What were you in?
I was Army.
Okay.
Army. So, I go to Iraq, but I was a medic. Just like you go to a sort of a like field unit and you do medic stuff.
I was in the National Guard.
You were?
I went. I spent a year in Kuwait.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you guys had, like Kuwait was actually Kuwait, because everybody was talking about like it's like for Army folks and for Marines, Kuwait is like heavens. Like when
Yeah,
they want to refer.
it wasn't that hard. I mean, it was just hot and boring.
Yeah.
Like, we were basically
Boring too?
I mean, mostly, yeah. I mean, it was. I was there like in 03, 04,
Okay.
and so we were like kind of just, you know, my MOS was 13 Bravo, so we were artillery, but
Right.
like there was no really need for artillery
Yeah.
after that. So
Right,
we
right.
were just basically MPs,
Right.
guarding the base,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. But you were Army too?
Yeah, I was
Okay,
Army,
yeah. 13 Bravo, right.
yeah.
So, yeah, it was, and then, you know, after I got, the divorce was actually happened in 2014. So
Okay.
2014, you know, I got divorced. 2016, I retired. So 2016, I, you know, hopped back. I was just hanging out because I retired in Fort Benning in Georgia.
Yeah.
And then I was just hanging out, right?
Yeah.
Not doing anything for like 3-4 months.
Yeah.
And one of my friends was an engineer at Boeing, and we used to go to Bellevue College together years before that, like in the 2000s. And he called me and was like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Nothing. I'm just, you know, I'm retired now." And he's like, "You are 40 years old. Don't act like you're, you know, like you're getting ready to die. You're retired. Retired. Excuse my French. He's like, retired my ass. Just, you know, get your stuff and come back to Seattle. Like Seattle is just growing like crazy, like cancer. We're gonna find something for you. Like, you want to go back to school?" And I was like, "Not really, not anymore." And when I was in service, I got a master's in public health, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So, and I thought that I'm just gonna come back here, you know, get a desk job or something, work for VA maybe, right? Work at a hospital, something.
Yeah.
I came back here, dropped a few applications left and right, and you know, and they're like, "Yeah, we're looking for somebody for $20 an hour as I don't know, whatever, all positions, entry level."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "That can't do that. It's not fun, like, you know, to get entry level again." So started, you know, as an apprentice with a plumbing company. 4 years later, got my license. I started my business, so I'm like 5 years a business owner. And
That's
operator.
awesome. So you started like COVID time.
I started in November of 2020.
Okay.
The business, like registered the business and everything, Gold Star Plumbing. So.
How's it going?
Phenomenal so far. Yeah. This year, I guess we are, you know, we just entered June. The first 6 months of the year is definitely way slower than the years before, which is not just me. Like I'm talking to anybody. Electricians are the same way. There are two architects that I work with, and they are, you know, they normally they don't call us to see like if we need anything, right? The architects are the ones that just hand down the work, and they're like, "Yeah, this is my plumber, give him a call." So, you know, like the guy that I work with, he called me like you know, sometime ago. I was like, do you have any projects coming up that needs any plans or whatever to, you know, to get approval? And I was like, honestly, no, at this point, like everything that I'm doing, the last one that you did is still pending with City of Kirkland for the permit. So, but yeah, the market is super slow, unfortunately.
Slow for you right now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, and electricians
too. Do you have any crew with you?
I got 3 trucks and I have 2 guys working for me.
Yeah.
But they're not consistent every single day.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they have, one of them has an excuse. You know, they got families, and I understand that. So if they show up, they get paid. If they don't show up, they don't get paid.
Yeah.
One of them is more consistent. He actually does have a family. The single guy, forget about it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like sometimes he calls. He's supposed to be, for example, on the job site at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And like at 9, he calls and he's like, "I'm sick." And I'm like, "You smoked pot last night, didn't you?" Right?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, but we were, I don't know what happened. I had some food, my stomach is turning, and I'm like, "All right, that's cool, man. Like, just, are you gonna show up to work tomorrow, or you want me just, you know, to send you a final check?" He's like, no, I'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah. So it's hard to find help when you need it.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like the work ethic, and you know, like somebody who wants to do what you like to do as a profession, because a lot of these guys are just looking for like you know, everybody has bigger dreams.
Yeah.
And they look at they look at the time that they're helping me out with as a transition period, and they're like, "Yeah, this is all I want to do for like 6 months, so I can get by, right?" And nobody commits to this, knowing that trades actually are a great thing, you know, a great way of making money. So, within the past just as a, sort of a proof to myself, after I left the military, I had a house when I left the military.
Yeah.
Since then, I bought 2 extra just by doing plumbing.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the only income that I have at the moment.
Yeah.
And it pays off. So.
Yeah.
Right. I actually, I tell the guys that, hey, look, for example, last year I made $340,000 just doing plumbing, and they're like, well, you are a licensed plumber, and I'm like, okay, you wait enough, you become a licensed plumber, and you make $30,000, $35,000, $40,000 a month, which is not too much, because some of these larger companies that have multiple trucks, for example, Vinny Esposari, Mr. Reuter, for the last 4 years that I worked for him, his take-home money each year was more than $2 million. Yeah. He's a business owner. I understand. He's not a plumber anymore, right? Yeah. But at some point, he was just a licensed plumber like myself, running around in one truck, cleaning drains and replacing traps and doing this, that. Now, he lives in a $15 million house somewhere, and then just, plays golf in Hawaii and do this and do that. So, yeah. Yeah,
that's a hard model to keep too up. It's hard. It's harder for them. Even with the swings, when you're having to keep a bunch of crews, with the scaling part of all that, it's really tough.
Yeah, it is. Like for me, just going from one truck to 2, and then being able to hire somebody who you can trust and who's not trying to take from you or steal from you, and then have the work ethic and have the proper conscience, because there are certainly companies, and you probably know a few, that they are mainly focused to take money from you, right? And they can care less if the quality of work actually matches the money that they are, they're collecting from people. They just want to show up and go like, yeah, this is $20,000, right? And spend 5 minutes on the job if they could, and just put a patch on it, get the money in. And that's not, in my opinion, that's not the right way of doing it. Like it's just, I always put myself in a situation that I am on the receiving end of the service, right? And I'm on the paying end of the service. So I want these two to kind of match, because that's how I feel good. Like you just go to a restaurant and you get a, like a $20 burger and you feel good about it, right? And then you can't just pay $200 to get a burger. Right? You know what I mean? It's not going to match up. It's not going to pan out. So same thing, and unfortunately there is, with the trend of the majority of the plumbing companies putting their technicians on commission, 100% commission, people get so addicted to bumping up the numbers so they can make more money, right? And essentially, and that's how I learned how to sell, right? And then it took me a while to just leave that habit alone, because like if you wanted to take, when you're on a 20% commission and you want to take home $500 a day, for example, which is not too much for somebody who's doing, like hard labor, then you need to sell $2,500 to the customer besides all the parts.
And you need to rush through your projects.
And
you need to just rush.
And you're right.
Rush through, maybe
everything.
Maybe not get it done right.
Right. Yeah. And that becomes a thing. That becomes a mindset. Like at first, you just save your conscience and you just go like, no, I just want to do the right thing. And then at the end of the month, they have like the monthly reports on the wall, right? Yeah. But they got like the quarterly meeting with the breakfast and everything else, and they just praise the technician who made $70,000 or like $80,000, and they're like, okay, Tommy for the past 3 months, has averaged $210,000 for the past 3 months. And you go like, oh crap, I didn't do that. So, and then you start, doing the math in your head. That how is
the culture?
Right, how is he making $70,000 when he's working 22 days a month? So he's actually selling $4,000 every single day on average. So that means that on the days that are no calls, and he made $0, the next day he made $8,000 in one day. How the hell can you do that? And then you just start talking this and that, and they're like, boy, it doesn't matter. Like he replaces a sump pump for $6,000, and I'm like, the sump pump is like $350. And it takes like 3 hours to replace.
I can do it for the cost of a pump, and I mean I replace mine myself. It's plug and play.
Right.
I know how.
And then you realize that that's the mentality of the entire market. Everybody wants to show up, get your attention, show up to your door, and then just throw some random number out, right? And then give you like a sales pitch that this is what we're gonna do. And then if you ask for how did you structure the price? nobody can actually put two and two together and tell you that this is going to be 10 hours of labor at X amount of dollars. We're charging $500 an hour, right, for example. And then 10 hours of labor, so $5,000 in labor, plus $2,000 in parts and markup, $7,000, that's your price, right?
Yeah.
And then if somebody had a price structure and you call a different company, they show up and they take a look at the project and they're like, we can take care of this for $15,000. And if you know that somebody else is doing it with that price structure, you go like, okay, so that's $2,000 in parts, right? So you are essentially charging $1,000 an hour, or like $1,200 an hour just to do this work. I replaced the water heater, a power vent in Seattle last week. In Ballard. That's where my office is. My office is in Ballard. And I quoted $3,600 to replace the water heater. I knew the water heater was $1,600, right? And it would like take 5 hours to replace some additional parts, a dump run to recycle the old water heater. So $2,000 for the 5-6 hours. And the customer did not even hesitate. Like I said, I can do this for 36. And he said, can you do it today? And I was like, I can't do it today, but I can do it tomorrow. And he said, okay, so I'll be working from home tomorrow all day, so whenever you want to stop by, you stop by. Normally people try to kind of, bring your price down a little bit, haggle, whatever. He didn't do any of that. So I finished up replacing the water heater, and then at the end of the day, I was like, well, by the way, where did you find my contact? And he said, well, I just got on Google, and you were on Google Maps, I give you a call. And I was like, so there are, in this area, there are much larger plumbing companies. And how did you end up calling me? And he said, well, because you had the best quote. And I was like, sure, we are a smaller plumbing company, smaller overhead, so we can keep our prices lower. But do you mind me asking what other quotes you had for the same service? And he said, he named 2 other much larger plumbing companies. The service that I did for $3,600, somebody offered $9,000 for.
It's ridiculous.
$9,000 to replace water heater.
Kind of like,
and I was like,
robbery.
did they give you a written estimate, or they just verbally said? And he said, no, they actually gave me a written estimate. And I was like, do you mind if I take a look at it? And he said, no, you can take a look at it. And exactly the same thing that I did. Besides replacing some of the other components that didn't really, maybe like $1,000 extra of components that, like a mixing valve or whatever, that didn't need to be replaced. But again, $9,000 compared to 36 versus 46. And the other one was at $7,500.
So it's a huge difference.
Yeah, huge difference. And that made me go home and change the prices in my book. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to be the cheapest guy on the block. So
I mean, it's good to have. It's just good to be fair pricing, whatever that might be. Like, I mean, like to me, like double is like someone. It's because part of all this is part of why some of these big companies have to like charge step-out registries, because they're so big. They have so much like advertising, so much overhead. They have to keep trucks busy all the time. They're like, and so there's just so much bloatedness to these companies they've become really inefficient at providing valued service. They're just like, you Google them and like they're going to run to the top of the Google search every time. Just because they're paying so all that money to you see them all the time. You see their trucks everywhere. They're just
like the football players are not. They're like when they are charging millions of dollars for like Coca-Cola ads, like when you have Bobby Wagner or like somebody else, like for Beacon Plumbing, they're not doing it for free, right? So they made it.
You got to pay Marshawn Lynch's salary,
right?
So
it's just
so like it's kind of a,
and that's why like they charge $750 to snake the kitchen drain. So
I used
20 minutes.
So I used to work. I started my company 5 years ago, and so before that, I was an architect for Starbucks. Was my client. I was a builder for a big company, and Starbucks was my client for like 6 years. And so there's kind of a way of kind of designing and building and maintaining their stores that's like bar none to anyone building in any niche of industry of the construction world. I mean, I worked McDonald's too for 5 years before that, so I have like a bunch of years of working for these people that build
like industrial.
They're building thousands of locations, and they're small projects, so they're equivalent scope and wise to a house because they're small. There's like 3,000 square foot buildings, like they're size of a house, like right? So like They're metal framing but wood framing. The plumbing's kind of the same. Electrical's not the most complicated, so it's not like big massive. So,
Right.
but there's a really efficient way that they do it, and they kind of own the supply chain of things, and they just. As the owner of the building, they create a very cohesive team between suppliers, vendors, builders, architects, and so it's a very much a team building effort, and so and it feels like there's nothing that's really, the residential world is just the most chaotic, broken industry of building and construction of all industries in the United States.
Yeah,
it is the most terrible. The homeowner experience of renovating the house is the worst. Can you trust a guy or not? Who knows if you call a guy out off of Google if the guy is going to be a shitbag or if he's going to be. It's 50-50, I feel like, to find a good trade to go do something. It's a flip of the coin. And if you don't know, if you don't have a direct referral from someone,
right.
And then the problems that the trades and everyone has is the scalability. How do you scale? How do you and it's just this hustle world that I think just needs some massive disruption. So part of my business is a startup mode to kind of figure out a different way to do residential construction and design in general, change everything. Builders should stop. I don't need a builder and general contractor to buy materials anymore.
Right.
There's not enough trades and builders. There's not enough guys building houses to spend time running errands, going to the store every day.
Right.
So lots of general contractors will go pick up all the finished materials, run to the store, and they'll do that, especially the small guys.
Right.
They'll be running I need you guys with your building knowledge, and I need you guys here.
Right.
Don't leave. You need you here. I don't need you running to Home Depot, which is an hour and a half away from here.
Right.
It's not easy to get from here to Home Depot, in any time of the day. It's an hour of building. If we can, if I can, so we have a kind of trying to build a process where we're taking over all the purchasing of everything.
Which is I guess builders are doing it that way, because if you are putting a 40 different houses development block all together, right? Nobody gets their stuff from Home Depot.
Yeah,
everything is ordered in the builder. They get everything is planned, and then you have all the trusses already pre-cut, pre-made, custom made, and then one at a time. And a semi stops by and drops the roofing for this one. You just erect everything, goes up, and then move to the next one. And that's the efficiency. That's how I guess efficient builders make their $1 million money.
But that's a whole different. Production builders are different than the guys doing this.
There's custom build house, right?
50% of builders are guys like you, 3 to 5 man companies doing projects like this. This is production residential building kind of hasn't figured it out, but they're building from an architectural design perspective.
Yeah.
They're still building the same ugly looking house over and over again, and half of them are cheaply built. Right. So there's still some problems with the production build guys because everything is mass manufactured.
And there's the subcontractors cut a lot of corners. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've lost. There's been a loss of some of the skills of the trade because of production housing. People don't know how to custom frame anymore. Finding framers that can frame it like a custom house or reconfigure framing of an old house is really hard to do these days. There's just kind of a lot of everything. Just drop some trusses on it. It's just easy, which is fine. But taking care of and renovating our old homes and there's so many old houses that just need some love and
Especially in older Seattle, that we still have houses that are 100 years old, 105, 110 years old, and they need some care. So
and I also feel like we're not building houses that can last 150 years anymore.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
the material is not going to stay that long.
That's a problem too. Is not the lifestyle costs of housing are so housing. The big problem that you're pointing to and that I see is in everywhere is just the housing costs is just ridiculously out of control. It's going to be hard for your kids to afford it. My kids aren't going to be able to afford a house in my neighborhood. I bought in my neighborhood in Redmond 20 years ago. I could hardly afford to buy a house now. It's just the affordability of houses is crazy just because it's costing so much just to keep them nice and well maintained.
It's
just to replace the sump pump.
The cost of living in larger metro areas, and Seattle is definitely going towards becoming sort of next San Francisco, if you will, right? Yeah. It's just a center of a lot of attention at the moment, and they're because of all the changes that is going throughout the rest of the country. Yeah. Tornadoes and fires and lower, I guess, job market in, many areas, like especially Midwest, and a lot of people, younger generations are just, getting degrees and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And Seattle has the potential, we got Amazon, we got Microsoft, we got a bunch of different, a lot of tech companies that are paying big money for somebody who's like 25 years old and, has like a bachelor's, master's degree and, pay $150,000, $180,000. So just like a huge magnet for a lot of potential from the rest of the country. Plus we have the influx of money from overseas. That's just, hiking up the prices in here. Cause like, I go to so many neighborhoods that, people talk about, hey, yeah, this house in here, like somebody out of China bought this house 4 years ago and they just left it alone. Nobody's actually living in there. And you see like the grass is like, chest high and all that. And this is just going to hurt the market because like there are spaces that nobody can use and other people are going to have to, either live in a tiny apartment and, the competition is going to get worse. So. And that's why the prices in this market are like where they are right now.
Yeah, I mean that's just one. That is definitely the big factor in kind of the housing costs. There's tons of things that impact housing costs.
The cost of material as well too.
Yeah,
like if you are building a house and you pay, like on paper you look at how much you spend on the material, and it used to be whatever $50,000 to build a house on materials, and now it's like $150,000 on materials. And then probably more, because if you want to get definitely it's good, like if you want to build a house minus the land, it could easily be like in $250,000 cost only just on material. And then you put the labor to that, then that's another $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 in labor, and that's why. And then you have $250,000 of land price depending on where you are, how big the lot is, and then the permitting. Forget about it. So, and then you're like, that's why it's like this house is like $2 million in construction.
We have to charge. We have to charge so much more and more every time we go. Feels like we get a permit. Like all my fees are expensive, and I feel like we charge too much for what we do. But like it's just costs what it costs. Like it's it's just permitting takes such a big. If we have to do any energy code stuff, it's just like
yes, I know.
Every time we have to go get a permit, like. If I didn't have to get a permit, like just, add 25% to the drawings. It's just easy.
Yeah. The last full house new construction permit that I pulled for plumbing and mechanical was with the builder that I think they just finished up in Bellevue. Like we did the work a few months ago. We wrapped it up like 6-7 months ago in the winter. $3,400 for the plumbing and mechanical permits. And after that phase, and I had a list of fixtures and things that needed for a permit in there. The guy apparently he forgot to look at there's like a big pack of drawings from the architect, and he missed the fire protection page or like section because it was not printed out or whatever. So I have my water line coming in the building. So